everybody. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Welcome to Workforce Ready with NSTAR. My name is Nnamdi Hanacho, and I am always here every week just having a conversation with you around all things getting into tech, but also I specialize in database administration, so I get to speak about that a little bit more. But it's Workforce Ready with NSTAR. It's about helping you transition into a career in information technology without having to break the bank or make a life transforming investments or what have you. And it's just sharing tips, just pulling back the curtain and showing you under the hood and how it works. So that's our objective here every week, and I'm glad you've joined us. Today, my topic is inside the 100K SQL DBA career, what to do and how to start. So again, welcome. I'm excited. And today, like I mentioned earlier, I want to show you, database administration is by far one of the most stable careers in information technology, whether you are aware of that or not. It's been there since time immemorial. It's always going to be there. It's stable. It's always in demand. It might not be as trendy and sexy as the cybersecurities or the rest of them, the data analytics, the data analysis, all of those, but those ones tend to be seasonal, right? But there are, and I've said this several times in previous videos, and I'll keep saying it, there are certain parts that are I call them pillars or stems inside of the world of information technology, where everything else is an offshoot of it. So database administration, network engineering, infrastructure, so server administration, storage, virtualization, those that part, and core programming, right? So pure development, pure coding, those things are staple. Those are everything else is an offshoot built on this foundation. All right, it's whether it's security and the rest of them, they all build on these pillars. And so that's why you see you're not going to see too many promotion around become a server administrator or any of that. But it's always been there, right? You're not going to see too many promotions on get into network engineering, become a network engineer, become a switch, all of those type things. But these are the foundational platforms that drive information technology, and that is the truth. Database administration happens to be one of those. It's always been there. The career has evolved with with the evolution of technology, but it is a stable path. There's always going to be need for database administrators because of the significance of data to businesses. And today, more than ever before, businesses are powered by and driven by data. And so it is something that the need is always going to be there. The skill set is always going to be in demand. All right, so that's one. I wanted to show you a little bit about this career path. Again, I've done previous videos on this, and I'll keep hammering it and talking about it until you get comfortable. I want to see as many people transition in this career path as possible. And so the big question, the 100K question is, I always do this, get into tech, 100K, all of that just, and some people wonder, is it even real, right? And I've done previous videos showing us actual numbers, showing us data, with from Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, what database administrators earn. So that's verifiable income. And, by working with students, working with individuals over the last 7-8 years and mentoring people into this career path, I have seen these numbers. It's normal. It's not even a big deal at this point. And at this in 2025, 100K is not as big as it used to be anymore. That's the truth. So is it real? Yes. And today I want to get into why this role commands that salary, right? Why professionals, what exactly do these people do? Why is this an important role? Why is it well paid? Because it makes sense. Nobody's going to pay you a high salary just because of the sound of the name or the title. There has to be a basis. There has to be a justification for any high-paying role. There has to be commensurate value. I'm telling you right now, most of these corporations, these roles are appraised and there's a market rate. And so you're not just going to get a salary because of the sound of the title, because the role sounds sexy. And so we're going to pay you this amount of money because that's what it commands. No, it's about the value, in the role. And again, because I talked about earlier, more and more businesses are more dependent today than ever before on data, right? It's it's so critical to remember this, and that's where the value of this call, comes from. Now, this session I want to highlight again, it's for career explorers, right? You're exploring the DBA role, you're looking to get into tech, especially as we're wrapping up 2025 and you're trying to make a career decision for 2026. I want to show you why this is a smart move to make, right? Why you should definitely explore this path, why you should definitely consider this, and so I'll cover why database administration is essential. I'll talk about what exactly it is we do and how you can get started. And I'll share, if I have the time, some real world examples, talk about some of the people that have gone through, I've worked with and I've seen become successful. So number one, why the demand, right? Especially in, today, in 2025, in modern day businesses, what exactly is it that makes this a lucrative career path? And like I said before, and I've said it and I'll keep saying it, every business thrives on data. Data is the lifeblood of every business. I don't care what industry, what niche, regardless of what they do, every business is powered by data, right? Even with the evolution of artificial intelligence and AI coming in and doing what it's doing, even artificial intelligence is powered by data. All of these systems have to be trained. Guess what? Data, right? So even the ability of an AI platform to be effective is dependent on the data it's fed. It has to be taught, it has to be trained, right? And it's about how fast can it synthesize data. The most effective tools that we talk about how to interpret data quickly. But all of it is powered by data, all of it. Medical facilities, hospitals, and the medical industry, manufacturing. I've worked with students from every industry, utilities, mobile communications, AT&T, Verizon, Bank of America, like name it. I've had people go through mentorship and go work in these places, right? So this is every industry. I've had students go work for Northside Hospital, go work for Emory. It's crazy. Like I've seen students go work for landscaping. I had a student who finished, who went through a program and he worked for Site One here in Georgia, here in Atlanta, in the Alpharetta area. And so there's, it's amazing the industries. I've had people work in poultry, weighing farms, hired one of my people. It's incredible. It's incredible just the industries, because every business is powered by data. Like that's a fact. That is a given in 2025 more than ever before, and going forward, data is going to be currency. And SQL is a language, right? SQL, structured query language. This is the universal language that databases communicate with, right? It's been the standard for over 50 years, and it's not going anywhere. Right, every platform that is a database management platform is still underneath the hood powered by SQL. Right, so when we talk about learning SQL and getting that skill set, it is such a priceless skill set, because that is the one scripting language that's universal across all database platforms. Right, so every business is dependent on data. SQL is the language, and the DBA, the database administrator, is the guardian of the data. Right, we're able to leverage our proficiency in SQL in these database management platforms to help businesses, manage their data, make sure it's safe, make sure it's available, make sure customers can access the data fast. Right, you do a transaction, you send somebody money in Texas, and you're here in Atlanta, and it's Zelle in a second, it's there. Behind the scenes, a database administrator is working, right? Under the hood, it's systems that we put in place to ensure that is happening, right? Whether it's money transfer, whether it's sending reports, or in the case of maybe an unfortunate situation and there's a disaster, how do we ensure that we can keep serving our clients and not have any downtime? These are all components of the work of a database administrator. So whether it's data protection, in case of a disaster, or protecting customer data to ensure that no fraudulent characters, malicious characters can have access to that information, making sure that if you don't have the right permissions, you can't access certain information, to making sure data travels fast or accessible fast. All of that falls under the umbrella of what we do. Now, that's at a very high level, but I want to paint a picture so you can see. I want you to start seeing the DBA role in everyday interactions that you have. Right, when you do a transaction online, you make a purchase on Amazon or you make a purchase on Walmart.com, and inventory is updated, and you receive That's possible because, again, systems have been put in place. Now, it's a whole complex collection of things that have to work for these things to happen. But at the root of that, data and records are updated. So whenever you buy things on Amazon successfully, thank you, DBA. Whenever you can send Zelle to your friend or make a payment online at the restaurant, make a payment at the restaurant and swipe your card and it's up. Thank you, Database Administrator. All of this fall under the ramifications of the work that we do. Right. And so again, I hope you're beginning to see the significance and why this is a core career path. So even if it's not trendy, even if it's not all over the place and you're not seeing too many people shouting, get into database administration, it does not make it a less important career path. It is as critical as everyone you know, and it's going to always be there. Trends come and go, but data is always going to be at the root of innovation. At the root of transformation of companies will always be data. At the advancements with artificial intelligence and who knows what next is going to come, data is going to power and drive this, right? So database administrators are super important and relevant to every organization's IT infrastructure. And that's why it is a super important role. It's not a legacy role. It's not one that is being phased out. It's a foundational role, right? The demand will always be there, and that's why the salary will always be high, right? Companies are not paying you for the sound of the title. They pay for the value. And if you can see the value from just what I've explained so far, you'd see why companies pay well to ensure they have the best people, to manage their critical data. Now, in terms of what we do, right? In terms of what we do now, I have various categories of database administration that I teach my students. But there are two modes of the work we do, right? There is the architect, there's the proactive one, right? Who is deciding, how things work. They look at what our system's trying to do, right? That at the architect level, you're looking at the system and what it's meant to do. You're looking at what you're trying to, how design-wise, how it should work, how the tables should talk to each other, how the data should talk, interact with each other, who needs to have access to what, right? At that security level, who's allowed to see what, who's allowed to touch what. So customers should be able to see this, but they shouldn't have access to this, right? Back-end people should see this. People who work in sales should see this. That is at the design level. Okay, you're planning, okay, these are the metrics you want to keep collecting. This is what growth looks like for us. This is what we project that data growth is going to be like. Okay, so that is that's at the architecture level. Just think of an architect, a real life architect. In the traditional context of architecture, they take requirements. You want to build a house, you call an architect. They find out what you're trying to accomplish, and then they come up with logical designs to represent what you have in mind. And they put the rooms together. This is how the rooms will connect to each other. This is where the living room will be. This is where the media room is. This is where the ante room, and all of those things. They put all of that together, and then they paint a picture that you can see and say, yes, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what my goals are. That's the architect. All right. They are more proactive thinking. And then there's the reactive piece of the work of the reactive DBA, right? This is where we fight fires. This is where we are in the weeds. This is the part that people don't quite enjoy all the time, when you have to get on the phone, get on the bridges and, try to troubleshoot issues and figure out what's leading to what issues and all of that good stuff. So when, we get those complaints around, oh, the website is slow, performance is down, and we have to go do some triage and do some investigation and figure out what happened and how we can improve performance. Right, this is where we get into disaster recovery concepts. Server is down. There's an outage here. Data is corrupt. How do we get back and continue to serve customers without avoiding any kind of downtime? So that's the reactive part, right? Disaster recovery, troubleshooting, performance tuning. All of those, monitoring. So if you go look up a database administration job description, you'll hear some of the things I just said, right? The performance tuning, performance optimization, monitoring, keeping an eye on how things are happening, receiving those tickets that are coming and say, hey, it's slow. Our performance on my application is slow. My report is taking a little too long to run. All of those things, are the reactive piece of our work. So there's the design proactive one, and then there's the reactive space, right? All of that work together to make a wholesome DBA. Right, so that's a bit of what it looks like under the hood. So there's the exciting part where we get to put on our architect hat. We get to sit with the software architect, software developers, with product owners. We get to talk with business folks and brainstorm and geek out on concepts and architecture and storage and server specifications. Those things are fun to do, right? Because you can we're projecting based on the traffic expected as well, fun things, right? And then there is now it's built, supporting it. Okay, making sure it's up and running, coming in every morning and checking to see if your backups run successfully, if your indexes are running fine, right? If all of your maintenance things are okay and resolving issues, right? It's you staying up and receiving those phone calls from your offshore team and then calling you and saying, hey, performance, we're noticing some blocking and deadlocks. Again, I know I'm using some technical language, but honestly, these are things and simple concepts that I break down for you once you come into the program. If you're in our program, these things are not familiar. They are not unfamiliar to you. So that's what the role of it's an exciting career path, I would say. That's one of the things I love about database administration. It's you're constantly learning, you're constantly evolving. The technology is always advancing, so it keeps you on your toes. You have if you're somebody who loves to learn, then there's going to be opportunities to constantly learn and grow, because the role of the database administrator is always evolving. It's always advancing. It's always growing. But also there's always going to be something that comes up that you've not seen before, and you'd have to try your hands out and do some research and do some digging. Now we leverage. It's even more beautiful. People get into. I did a session on this where I talk about the value, AI and how it's going to affect the DBA role. These platforms are so helpful now with troubleshooting, right? You can literally brainstorm with Copilot or brainstorm with Claude or ChatGPT, and you're analyzing and tweaking scripts and all of that. And so it's a fun career path, I'll put it that way. Especially today more than ever before, it's fun. And right now you want stability, right? If you're like myself, you want a place where, hey, I have a job. Now, stability is not necessarily in. People think when we talk about career stability, they start thinking, okay, I want a job where I will work for 20 years or 10 years without having to, and I can stay there. Well, that is not dependent on your job title. Organizations differ, right? You can be in a stable quote unquote career path, but an unstable company and then all of that. But you want a skill set that is always in demand. That's where your career stability comes from. So that if for any reason you need to make a move from here or your life situation changes, you have a skill set that I can make life changes and know I have this thing to lean back and I support myself and support my family. Honestly, that's why I do this. I want to see as many people get into this because of the stability and confidence that comes with it, so that no matter what happens, seasons of your life change or changes within at organizational levels, you have the tools and the the skill sets to go out and find yourself something, and you're not going to drop in your quality of life and all of that. So that's why I love this career path, and I'm an ambassador for careers in data, especially database administration. And that is why I have I've committed the last decade of my life, I've committed it to really mentoring people. Like, it's so many people from our community, from the Atlanta area and around the United States. I'm an African immigrant, and I've been able to leverage this platform to help so many of our people get into stable careers, and people who are not even from the African immigrant community or the African diaspora, African Americans, and like all manner. The demographic has been very wide, and I've been blessed to really work with people from different career paths. I've had students who, I had a student who, he just did everything. He was just a pure hustle. He had ATM machine, or had ATMs in different locations, and then he would do truck driving and all of that. He was just everywhere, but at some point he needed some stability. He came to us, had a conversation. I said, hey, if you can put your head down and commit time to this, I can help you get in. And that's exactly what happened to him. He put his head down, did the work, and today he's doing good. I can never forget him texting me during the pandemic and saying, Namdi, thank you. Thank you for showing me this path, because now I'm not worried about, I'm able to do multiple gigs. I can take care of my family in a pandemic where people were losing jobs. That was one of the most gratifying message I've ever received. It's been so many years, but I still remember it like yesterday because of that testimonial. I had another student who came, and he used to work in an African restaurant, right? It's a Senegalese African restaurant. We used to make fun of him because of his schedule was ridiculous. We used to call him 10 to 10. That was his schedule daily. And he said, hey, I'm ready for a change. And he came, put his head down every day, worked very hard, and like a month after the program, he landed a job with one of the leading financial services companies here in Atlanta. And he's been in the game now for a minute. I've had very close friends who have come to me and say, hey, man, I need to get into this. And I can tell stories and stories. I've had ladies I had a lady who was a nursing student, and she was 2 years into the program, and she felt like this was not for me, right? She literally said this, I did not feel like this was for me. And then somebody said, hey, come check this program out. You might like it. The pay is similar or even better, and it's something that you might be interested. And she came and literally started the program, and she dropped out of nursing school. I don't recommend that, but she didn't tell me until after the program when she was sharing her testimonial and she got a job. And she talked about how she made that decision. I was like, you're crazy, but she did, and she put her head down and did the work, and then was able to leverage class and has built a successful career as a database administration for a couple of years now, right? So it is possible, regardless of where you are, you can do this if you are willing to commit the time and put your head down and do the work. This is not a get rich, like without doing it. There's so many people online promising a massive success without effort. Every principle of success I know contradicts it. That's just a lie to sell people just sell people who are gullible and get them to commit to something. I don't believe in that. There's always going to be a cost. There's always going to be a price. There's always going to be effort. And if you're somebody who's looking to, I want to commit myself to something, but I know that it will be a success, I will be able to leverage this in a successful career, then this is going to be, you're going to do well in this career path, right? So how do I get started? For somebody looking to get into a career in database administration, it's a 2 to 3 step process. First of all, is technical proficiency, right? Build your technical proficiency. So that's where we come in, where as a platform, as NSTAR Technologies, as a faculty, as a trainer, we help you up your technical proficiency to where you understand the technology. That is what gets you hired. That technical proficiency, you need to be able to demonstrate that in your interview. You need to be able to have a conversation and make sense to people, right? It's super important that you know what you're doing. It's not about just building a resume. All of that comes as, down the road. But that technology, high-level proficiency is what sets you apart. It's what opens doors for you, right? And that's why I talk about putting your head down and doing the work. If you build that technical proficiency, that's step one. Everything else, it's, mentorship will take you across the ledge, right? That's what we do. We now hold your hand and take you across, get you to the finish line, show you the ropes around how to navigate the transition process from building out your resumes that will get attention for you, to navigating calls with recruiters, to how you handle your interviews, what to expect, all of that, even up until when you start a job, what those first few months will look like. Those are things we mentor you through the process, so you don't feel like, my goal is to take you from classroom comfortably to your first job without it looking like you've made a life, it's a crazy transition, right? So that's what that looks like. Again, I'd love to chat with anyone who wants to learn more about this. This coming Saturday, we have I have a live workshop coming up, our Career Accelerator Live coming up for database administration. It's next week, Friday, not Saturday. And it's going to be 4 p.m. or thereabout Eastern Standard Time. The link to sign up should be in the description at some point. Please go and sign up or get on our website. Reach out to us on social, on LinkedIn. Reach out to us and let's have a conversation, right? Let's have a conversation. Get signed up. Get signed up for to our platform, to this accelerator that's happening. It's going to be like an hour and a half. It's an in-depth workshop. Registration is open. Please sign up. Click on the link and sign up. And I'll be going in depth, and you have a chance to actually ask me questions directly. So yes, that's my spiel today. I've shown you what a database administrator role is all about and steps to get in. And I've told you stories about people who worked with how they've become successful, and you can be my next success story. All right, so if you're curious, please hit us up in the comments, in the chat, send us a message, go to our Facebook page and send a DM there, send us an email, info@nstartechnologies.com, and somebody will be responding back to you promptly. But I look forward to seeing you in the workshop, and I'll be back here again next week, Saturday, with another episode of Workforce Ready with NSTAR. But till then, God bless you, and keep winning.